This is Ed Weiser, Reef Weiser from the Reef to Reef Forum, and today we'll be talking with Emma and Erin of the Oceanic Institute of Hawaii and the Rising Tide Breeding Initiative on the Yellow Tang breeding success they had. And so, Emma and Erin, would y'all like to introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Emma Forbes. I'm a research technician here at the Oceanic Institute. I'm also a graduate student here studying Yellow Tang, and hopefully will be graduating in May with my master's degree.
I'm Erin Pereira Davison. I'm a graduate student here at OI and Hawaii Pacific University, and my project deals primarily with the rearing environment of the larval yellow tang.
Okay. What got yourselves interested in the yellow tang and breeding in general of marine fish?
So I used to work at the Two Oceans Aquarium in Cape Town, South Africa. And that's really where I got hooked on marine ornamentals and kind of just like caring for them. And I was really interested. And then I applied to come to grad school here. And Dr. Callan actually contacted me and was like, hey, we have this project. And I was like, yes. And I've kind of been stuck and like obsessed with yellow tang since.
I started an internship back in Florida at the Gulfarium that had a small coral rearing and clownfish rearing facility, and that's what got me hooked on ornamentals. And I decided I wanted to focus my graduate career on ornamentals, and I kind of moved to Hawaii and hoped that I got accepted to grad school, and luckily Chad had enough room for me at the time, so I kind of took a leap of faith, and here I am.
That's great. Do you all have any kind of home background? Did y'all grow up in having aquariums in your house or anything like that?
I did. I've had aquariums my whole life, and I actually started my first saltwater aquarium I think my freshman year in high school, and then I've been doing it ever since. It's actually quite heartbreaking. When I moved to Hawaii, I had to break down and sell. I had a 125-gallon mixed reef tank. I had to sell off all my coral to come to Hawaii. Now I have a strictly aquaculture only tank, which is basically leftover research fish from OI, clownfish, and other fish in aquariums. Yeah.
So could you tell us, one of the questions a lot of people ask is what makes a yellow tang a male, and how can you tell between a male and a female in a yellow tang? I've had them forever, since the 1980s, and I never been able to see any difference between the two.
There's no visible difference until you get down to the reproductive organs, which Emma knows a little bit more about.
You kind of have to, you flip them over and you can see, and the females have a large ovipore, which you can see, and typically females are slightly smaller than the males, so the super huge yellow tangs are typically males. So you have to kind of look at their genital openings, and the females will have two with a very bigger hole, which is the ovipore, and then the males have two smaller.
So you have to be prepared to handle them in order to determine the difference.
And they're going to be upset.
They don't like
it. Might get one of their barbs in your hand. Have y'all had that happen yet?
It does happen.
I know I always try not to ever mess with yellow tangs with a net. I did it the other day with a friend moving some fish, and you get that barb in the net, and it's forever getting it out of there, you know.
Oh, they get stuck in there.
Right. Did you all, how was it, what is the day progression on the fish? How long does it take to go from the small larval stage all the way up to the finished stage? What was that time frame?
It was about, for us, it was 55 days to 60 days. It's right around the range we saw them settle into a juvenile. However, that's varies. It's estimated in the wild to be about 60 days. We're right on track with that. But it can, some will be at 55 days and turning yellow, and then some lagged behind at around 60.
Are you all learning a lot about the whole the genetics of the yellow tang and their growth behavior and stuff like that? Is that another part of the study?
So it's really interesting to watch as they develop, because as we add different feeds, and when they start reaching that point where they need to settle, you can definitely see like a huge shift in their behavior. They're not up at the surface, like coming towards food. They're more towards the bottom of the tank, and they speak into school. And it's really interesting watching them go from like larva to like little fish.
It was basically overnight when they were larvae hanging out in the plankton to the next day they were schooling, and it was amazing.
So we're like taking notes every day and observations and stuff as we progress through.
We have another grad student who's also doing some bone structure work and staining some of the deceased animals as we go, so we can get an idea of how their jaw structure works.
Right, because they have an interesting jaw structure for their picking function of their feeding. You know.
Correct.
One do the yellow tangs, of course, they have a particular time of day that they spawn, or they spawn every night?
We have a broodstock currently that spawns typically every day. They peak around the full moon, and they spawn around dusk or sunset. So we get eggs every day depending on where we are in the lunar cycle. Some days there's no eggs, but for the most part we get at least a few thousand every day.
We could max out around 50,000 eggs.
Yeah.
Wow. So on this latest the batch that actually broke the barrier, how many fish were in that one video that you got where you got the tank and the little yellow tangs in there? How many yellow tangs are in that first initial group that got all the way through?
So we had moved them earlier that morning, and we counted 178.
And it started out with, how many did it start out with?
Thousands.
Thousands.
So unfortunately, there's quite a few bottlenecks where we have drastic loss. So percentage in any ornamental or any aquaculture is very low, less than 10% survival. So we're focusing, a lot of our research, Emma's and mine as well, is focusing on those days where we lose thousands. And that's where we're trying to improve survival there. That way, eventually, we can get more through.
Right.
But once they get past those critical periods, we don't lose that many. It's just survival, unfortunately, is very low.
That's where it's kind of interesting in that we really don't know what the actual survival rate is from in the wild. You know, do we know the exact survival rate from a spawn in the wild to, it's kind of hard to tell, you know. So you're all kind of learning the whole process, because there probably might be quite a bit of a loss just in the wild, you know.
Oh, there's definitely
in the wild, it's estimated to be less than 1%.
Yeah,
make it through. So you're all actually getting more. You're all actually getting more through from spawn to in cycle than probably in nature right now. But of course, you'd want to get it better than that. So
we like to think so.
We take out the predation element. Not so many things are getting eaten.
Yeah, at that age, they get pretty. They're nice little potato chips, you know.
Exactly.
What's the most critical day in that cycle that was to get them past? Have y'all seen a roadblock, or was there a certain time, like at 34th day was the most critical time that you saw the more go through farther
right
along?
Now, the crucial period is 3 days post-hatch to 5 days post-hatch, which is right when they transition from yolk feeding to actually having to capture larvae, or capture copepods. And it's kind of eat or die situation. They have to capture food or they're not going to make it. That's when we see the most mortalities. I think later on, it was the same thing when they were older, when they had to transition to larger foods.
Yeah.
But the biggest mortalities we see is that first week where they have to learn, because think about it, they're feeding on a yolk sac floating around in the plankton, and then suddenly they're out and they have to learn how to capture live moving food that doesn't want to be eaten. So they either have to capture or they don't make it.
Is it what particular food are you feeding them at that particular stage? Is it a really small micron size rotifer or copepod, or what? What do you feed?
Parvo copepods. They're a nauplii stage at that early stage, and then later on we tried to transition them to some larger foods.
Yeah, because that's always the hard part. Is this are y'all culturing all this, or is this stuff that y'all are mostly all cultured food?
So we have an awesome live feeds department, and we culture our own algae, we culture our own copepods. So every day we get algae to put in the background, and algae for the tanks, and we get nauplii N1 and N2 to feed to the baby fish. So every day we can like give it to them, and then as they grow, we can overlap that with like rotifers and artemia as they develop.
Okay, because that's that's the most important part, is getting something that's the right size for the right size mouth. To get those two together.
Yeah.
Our live feed manager, Dean Klein, had to become an expert engineer to produce enough nauplii to feed thousands of fish.
And the right size nauplii.
Most of the time we produce, I think, at least 10 million a day.
Yeah, there's like 10 million.
So we produce some of the most nauplii available.
Well, I know I went on Google Earth and saw a picture of your all's facility. That you can get on Google Earth and see these great big vats that you all have all around. And so you're keeping the baby yellow tangs, and what size of a pond or whatever they're in right now is what size is that y'all?
So the brood stock that has gotten us through and their eggs have turned yellow, or the fish have turned yellow. They're in a 4-ton tank right now, and they're covered. So they have sides that are open to the elements, and then we also have 4 different sets of brood stock out in the huge tanks, which are 25 tons. They're
very
huge.
Large.
Yeah, and there's like I think 40-something odd yellow tang in there. But the producing brood stock that keeps giving us eggs that like continuously don't die is in 4 tons.
And the larvae we rear in various size tanks up to a 1 ton, and then we have down to 200 liters. And then for research scale operations, we go as small as a 5-gallon bucket, which is about 20 liters.
Right.
So it depends on the goal of the research at the time.
Now, do y'all keep all the brood stock, male and female large yellow tangs, mature ones? Are they in a large group of fish, or a large group of yellow tangs, or do they have other fish in the tank other than the yellow tangs themselves?
No, in our tanks we have mixed. Usually there's about 6 females and 4 males, and they're in a tank just with yellow tang, and they have little reef houses, and they get their little habitat, but it's just yellow tang. But It's always a higher number of females compared to males.
I know, because yellow tangs get kind of skittish kind of fish sometimes. I always call them, they're scared, like, oh, I'm scared, and they run. So you probably have structures that they can hide behind, or that kind of thing.
Yeah, they have little houses and stuff, and then they like to fight, which is really annoying. So we have to like play mom and dad and like separate the ones that are being mean and kind of mix and match until we get a group that like is cohesive.
Do you ever see like one male being more dominant in that kind of thing, or in spawning events or anything like that? Can you tell? I don't know if y'all marked them to see which one is which particular yellow tangs are doing the spawning or that kind of thing.
That's next on our list, using tagging and microsatellite DNA, which is Emma's forte, but we haven't done it yet. However, she has seen dominance in tangs just in general day-to-day behavior, but the spawning event, I'm not sure.
Yeah, we don't know which females are spawning and giving us eggs, so that's something we're definitely gonna hopefully work on. But right now,
these are things I think about, just because somebody has been in the breeding business and bred fish before. It's always nice to be able to know which particular ones, especially when you get a big group of fish, which ones are the most dominant in the situation.
I'd agree. That'll be my next season.
I'm helping you with your thesis. We're helping you with your thesis. Is there any plans or hopes to maybe work with purple tangs or gem tangs in the future? Are y'all looking to do that, or after you get this situation with the purple tangs straightened out and know exactly, y'all can just reproduce it over and over again? Is that a possibility?
Which is to get them up to a commercially available scale. But we are thinking of other fish. We have some access to other Acanthurus, the Menini tang, or what are they also called, convict tangs.
Yeah.
We have access to those eggs, so we're considering working with those next, but there's still a lot of work to be done with yellow tang. And then one one day we can focus on the expensive, fancy fish.
Yeah.
The one with the pets.
It'd be nice. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to get some gem tangs to breed with those fish in the future?
We are planning on selling our group that we just got through to fund some of our research. However, I don't know what costs we're looking at yet, but keep an eye out because we will be able to, or people may be able to acquire the first ever aquaculture yellow tang. And it'll be supporting for research for us as well.
I know y'all have a GoFundMe account, GoFundMe page to help support the breeding effort, and I'm sure I will make sure that's part of this video so that y'all can get some funding from that.
Thank you.
Is there anything in the future that you are looking to improve the breeding of the yellow tang, or is there particular food that y'all want to try, or is there anything particular like that going on or in the future?
We definitely have kinks in our protocol that we need to work out. So we're going to take it step by step and go backwards and see where we can improve things and how we can get survival to be better and how we can make our broodstock happier and all of that. So there's definitely a lot of work to still be done. Still, yes, yeah.
And so these papers that you're all working on, well, they would be out next summer, I guess, wouldn't it? If you're all hoping to graduate in May, would the papers be out in, say,
hopefully.
I mean, that's really ambitious. I don't know.
So once we actually graduate,
then
we have to translate our paper into a publishable format, and that does take some time because scientists.
Right.
Committee. So we're going to have individual papers published.
Right. It might take a little while for y'all to have it published.
Exactly how it works before we try to publish.
Right. That's the to get it down and tied down. This is just like the initial step. Y'all got a long way to go to get it to where it's reproducible down the road, I'm sure.
Basically, now we just know we can do it. Now we get to go back and figure out how we can do it
Much better. With more success, more survival.
Yeah, I always tell people it's a long way before anybody at home can do this like you can with the clownfish, It's a long way from that.
So the big difference is with the clownfish and the yellow tang spawn pelagically. So they need a lot of space, and whereas the clownfish, you can see their eggs, and 10 days before they settle. So they're quite a bit easier versus our 60-day yellow tang that, as we like to say, if you look at them cross-eyed, they die. So we have to, it's definitely a little bit more difficult. However, it's rewarding.
Do you find them to be the baby yellow tangs that you've gotten through? Do they seem to be pretty hardy on survival after they've gotten past the settling stage?
Yes. We've actually got them on dry feed now. So they're eating flake food as well as frozen prepared food, which is pretty exciting. Usually the first round of cultured fish, as I'm sure you know, getting them onto a prepared food is a big step. So we actually didn't struggle with that too much. Emma started with crushing up flakes, and
they've been good. And we had to move tanks a couple times just because as they're growing, there's a bunch of them. So we've been catching them in nets and putting them, and then we have to take photos. So they get a little sleepy, and we take pictures, and they bounce right back. So they're hardy now. I wouldn't say they're hardy when they're larvae, but once they're fishy.
Once they're first yellow, they get better, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Once they make it that far, they're pretty much good to go.
That's good. Yeah, it seems to be that's the hardest part going with a pelagic spawner compared to like a fish that lays eggs or something. It's a lot more difficult task to go from larva to fish. So that's the hard part. And I'm grateful that you guys were able to do that. And I want to thank you all for talking to us for a few minutes about your all's research. And we look forward to seeing your all's papers in the future. And hope you all get to do a better job and y'all can get more fish out and have all kinds of yellow tangs for people. Because that's really the future of our hobby, and the future of the oceans is based on research like this. If we can do more. Most hobbyists are very much ocean lovers, and we love to see all of our fish tank raised. Just like we can do all of our corals now tank raised. So I can't wait to get a yellow tang that's tank raised for everybody. And thank y'all guys, and y'all have a good day. And
thank you so much.
And I hope y'all get y'all's papers out now. Go back to work.
We'll work on it.
Okay. Well, thank you guys, and I'll stop the broadcast now.